What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. I came across an article that I thought you guys would really enjoy, and I wanted to go through this article with all of you here today. That being, guys, video game urban legends and the best of, guys, and I want to kind of go through some of this list with all of you. And I thought that it would be kind of a cool segment, and this is of course our first segment of the show. I thought it would be a cool first segment to kind of kick off today's show, and so let's get right into it. So guys, in this article that was written by Matt Rooney of IGN, like I said, this is the best of video game urban legends. So urban legends have a way of attaching themselves to random parts of everyday life and granting them an unshakable mythos. Bathroom mirrors have Bloody Mary, the sewers of New York have their gators and cannibal humanoids, and there is all manner of creepy, funny, and bizarre legends attached to video games. So here we go, guys. Number 10 is the Madden Curse, which I'm surprised it was actually number 10. But that being said, guys, professional athletes have dreamed their whole lives of making it to the big leagues and all the perks that come with it. But there's that old phrase about being careful what you wish for, and any professional football player who gets drafted to appear on the box art of that year's new edition of Madden NFL might start to regret their fame. The legend goes that along with the prestige of being a cover boy comes a curse, and that causes their upcoming season to be disastrous. So look, with this one in particular, guys, which I'm like pretty familiar with, obviously, the Madden Curse, I feel like the curse was somewhat broken after Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl after being on the Madden cover. But other than that, it has been crazy. I mean, when you look at some of the things that have happened, guys, to these players, the year of they're on that cover is very, very interesting. It does get eerie when you look at stories of players like Dante Culpepper, who after gracing the 2002 cover ended his next season with a back injury. Similar instances of injury, legal trouble, and all other manner of bad luck continue to happen to players who make the cover to this day, to players like the Saints' Drew Brees in 2011, the Vikings' Adrian Peterson in 2014, and the Patriots' Rob Gronkowski in 2017. So, but to be fair, there are some players who walked away from the curse unscathed, like the Lions' Calvin Johnson, who had a great season after making the cover in 2013, as well as Tom Brady in 2018. The Madden Curse, it feels like at times that the curse has been broken, and then just like a year or so after that, you'll see that the curse somehow or another comes back. It is a very interesting one, and I think it's something that we've got to kind of keep our eye on. Number 9, guys, is Kill Switch, the game that deletes itself. 1989's Kill Switch was a game that notoriously deleted itself after you finished it. The game allegedly existed in the late 1980s, and its publisher, the Carvina Corporation, not a real corporation outside of this legend, allegedly only created around 5,000 copies. While there is no firm evidence Kill Switch ever existed, there is a surprising amount of detail out there about it, like the fact you were able to choose to play as a demonish character named Gast or a woman named Porto. Supposedly, players who picked Gast found themselves controlling an invisible fire-breathing mass that was near impossible to navigate with. So, with Kill Switch, guys, I'm not super familiar with this. I did, of course, hear about it, but this was back before I was even born. So this was something that I don't know a whole lot about. Now, the adolescent fantasy codes, with the introduction of 3D video game women straight out of the male gaze fantasy like Lara Croft or any number of the playable fighters in Tekken or Street Fighter, came rumors that there were, in fact, codes that could make them wear less. Perhaps the most famous of these is the infamous Lara Croft nude code, which began circulating as far back as the original 1996 game's release, flooding early message boards. No code like that ever existed, at least in the public realm, but of course, that didn't stop the rumors. So, of course, I am aware of this one. This was obviously very interesting. I never saw it, obviously, but and I don't think I know anyone who did either. But that's what is the beauty, guys, as far as these these codes and how word gets around about, these things and how that they, were supposedly real. But at the same time, all of these are obviously just pure speculation. That's why they're urban legends. Saddam Hussein tried to use the PS2 to take over the world. Considering the power we're playing with today, it's hard to imagine that PlayStation 2 was once considered a pinnacle of console hardware. In fact, the 32-bit CPUs inside the machine were so powerful at the time that it spurred a terrifying urban legend that capitalized on geopolitical issues that may ring freaky even today. The legend goes that with the release of the PS2 in 2000, Saddam Hussein and the Iraq government bought thousands of them with the intent of harvesting the processors and using them in their own weapons of mass destruction, as this supposedly would have been the easiest way to get a hold of the expensive high-tech material. So this is really, obviously we heard of this, guys, but obviously I don't know if there's really any evidence to show of this. At any point in time, it doesn't seem like there was much evidence. But you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if, some political leader, whatever the case might be, if there was something in one of these consoles that they felt was going to help them achieve whatever amount of power that they can get. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually tried that. Pokemon's deadly lavender town music. As the world of Pokemon has expanded over the years, it's become more cute and colorful. However, for players old enough to remember, older Pokemon video games weren't always this way. In fact, they could be downright unsettling. Lavender Town in Pokemon Red and Blue, Green in Japan on the original Game Boy, for example, is home to the infamous Pokemon Graveyard, reminding all players that yes, your Pokemon will die at some point because nothing in the world is fair. Making matters more unsettling is the eerie, high-pitched, minimalist music from composer Junichi Masuda that plays as you pass through the town. It was so unnerving that, according to the legend, the original Japanese versions of Red and Blue caused the death of several children who played it, known around the internet as Lavender Town Syndrome. A legend varied in the telling, but the general thrust was that it caused children to have a mental break that led to suicide. So, once again, I've never been really big into the Pokemon games, guys, but this is not something that I really even really remember hearing about whatsoever. Now, look, obviously, this was back on the Game Boy. I had a Game Boy myself, but like I said, I didn't really play Pokemon, so I wouldn't really know much about this whole Lavender Town Syndrome. I was a little bit too young to really probably have any idea what was going on with something like this, but look, at the end of the day, I will never say never to anything, guys. There's always possibility that these things could be true, and that's what makes them really unnerving and very interesting, to say the least. The CIA designed a mind control arcade game. It's no secret that many urban legends are just a hair's breadth away from conspiracy theories, and the tale of Polybus bridges that gap like few others. The story dates back to the early 1980s when arcade cabinets for a game called Polybus were delivered to arcades around Portland, Oregon. Players flocked to the weird new puzzle shooter that featured plenty of strobing effects and twisty visuals, which supposedly led some to experience mental health issues, amnesia, and more sinister problems. If this wasn't bad enough, the legend goes that the CIA was behind it, collecting data about the players of the machine and using brainwashing technology to infect the minds of young arcade goers. Now, once again, this is something that wouldn't be super surprising. However, I don't know about the necessarily about the brainwashing technology, but I do wonder about collecting data. That would be something that if something like that's been going on for all those years, because we all know, guys, with our phones, smartphone devices, iPads, and things of that nature, that obviously government or, companies are collecting our data, and that's pretty much just public knowledge at this point. But the question really comes down to, for me at least, is the brainwashing technology that caused hallucinations and amnesia and other, health issues, which is very interesting to me and something that we'll have to kind of, obviously it's something that we'll never know, but I wouldn't be surprised definitely about the collecting data. I would definitely want to hear from you guys what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Number 4 is Diablo Secret Warrior Cows. Soon after the first Diablo came out back in the late 90s, many players fervently believed that there was a secret realm full of warrior cows. While there are cows you can interact with in Diablo, don't expect to get further than a benign moon. Rumors began to circulate that there was actually a way to access an entire cow dimension wherein you could slaughter a group of future hamburgers who have gone through a Planet of Apes style evolution and are ready to fight back intruders. While this was initially just a rumor, it became a meme in the Diablo community, inspiring Blizzard to include a secret cow level in Diablo 2 by combining a certain set of items. A portal opens up and allows players to enter the actual cow dimension, also known as Moo Moo Farms, where the player will encounter Hel Bavine, led by the mighty Cow King, if only all developers took fan theories this seriously. So that's something, guys, that I did hear about, but obviously I never saw it, never saw it myself, other than, of course, the Blizzard version that they brought out. This one's really interesting, though. The San Andreas Sasquatch, whether it be in any of America's dense dark forests or in the fictitious hills of a video game world, people are hungry to find the mighty and elusive Bigfoot. In 2004, the mythical beast allegedly leaped out of North American folklore and into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Fans reportedly started seeing the mythical ape in the hills of Baco Beyond, claiming they had seen a tall, dark figure somewhere on the screen, only to vanish before they could get a good look. Rockstar has since gone on to say there is no such thing as a Bigfoot in its game, but dedicated myth hunters still believe in its existence. The legend has become so popular in GTA lore that Rockstar went on to include a Bigfoot mission in Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, and even put a nod to that in GTA 5. There was even a well-hidden Easter egg in GTA 5 that let players unlock the ability to play as the beast. Also, they could lumber around the city as an 8-foot tall, 600-pound gorilla man, then hop into an SUV and run over some pedestrians. So this one, guys, obviously I heard of, but also this is something I would not be surprised if Rockstar did this. It just wouldn't be surprising at all. Think about it. I mean, all the stuff that they do in their games, all the different controversies and things of that nature. I wouldn't be surprised if this was something that they actually did do. They're obviously denying it, but then they added, of course, an Undead Nightmare and such. So to me, if you were to say, Zero, do you think Rockstar did this or not? I would say I think that they would. Why wouldn't they do something like that? Some cheeky little Easter egg or, some kind of something in there that's hidden, maybe even deep in the files and such. I mean, you always see these different people who go into game files and they start looking at things, and there's all kinds of things that are hidden within these games. Like you kind of move the camera around to certain angles and you see certain things, like in God of War. Very interesting things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised nonetheless. Shang Long was a secret boss in Street Fighter 2. Anyone who frequented an arcade around 1991-92 likely has fond memories of spending endless quarters on Street Fighter 2, mastering the styles of your favorite characters and greatly accelerating your arthritis. Likewise, if you were in the SF2 loop, there was a good chance you had heard the legend of Shang Long, a mysterious secret character lurking somewhere within the game. The rumor was based on a mistranslation of Ryu's famous Shoryuken attack, Shang Long in the Latin spelling of the Chinese characters that Ryu spouted during one of his victory quotes. You must defeat Shang Long to stand a chance. The rumor was bolstered by an April Fool's joke in the April 92 issue of EGM that claimed they had discovered how to unlock the secret boss. All you had to do was beat the whole game without taking any damage and not land a single punch on M. Bison at the end, meaning you must let the timer run out instead. No biggie. This was eventually corrected in the user manual for the 1992 SNES port, wherein the design team got in on the joke and officially named Shang Long as Ryu's master, and later incorporated him into a 1993 Street Fighter comic series. So very interesting. And then, of course, the last one, guys, blowing on your Nintendo cartridge actually did something. Anyone who grew with cartridge-based gaming has run into the same problem at one point, and no doubt the same solution. You pop in a cartridge for some reason, nothing seems to be working. You take out the cartridge, give it a good blow, thinking the problem might be dust in the cartridge, and presto, your game is working again. But was the blowing on the cartridge ever actually effective, or is it just something that made its way around the playground? Turns out this trick that made you feel like a genius years ago wasn't really doing anything. While the blowing gave our brain some sort of comfort, the reality is that Nintendo's connectors in the system could often wear out over time, especially in the NES. But simply taking out the cartridge and putting it back tended to do the job, though that didn't stop each and every one of us from taking deep breaths and fixing them ourselves. So that's a super interesting one. I remember that, guys. You know, there's other ways, of course, and other things that we've done in the past, guys, that would kind of be somewhat reminiscent of what they're talking about with the Nintendo cartridge, because I remember that doing that on a number of occasions with my Game Boy Advance. And I would say, guys, that it's hard to say, but at the same time, it's crazy to think that, yeah, you thought that was what you were supposed to do, because you kind of word got around, right? That's what you were supposed to do with the Nintendo cartridges, but obviously that's, it didn't really do anything at all. So what a crazy urban legend, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comment section below, which one do you guys like the most on this list? What urban legends have you guys heard that you would like to share? Let us know in the comment section below. And for more videos like this, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel ad nauseum at this point, guys, about Gears of War and just the series as a whole, guys, what it means to me. It's very close to my heart, and I am really excited, not only about the continuation and the, everything that gets added to Gears 5 at this point, but really looking ahead to Gears 6, because obviously, guys, I love Gears 5, but not everybody else in the community does love it, right? And so I think it's important that we talk about Gears 6 now and some of the things that we would like to see in Gears 6 that maybe are changed from Gears of War, from Gears 5, and things that maybe they can keep moving forward that seem to be successful. So let's talk about it. I want to talk, guys, in this segment about the top 5 things that we want in Gears 6. And when I say we, I mainly am talking about myself, but I know some of you may share similar, top things that you would want changed or different in Gears 6. And for those of you who don't agree, let me know what you guys want in the comment section down below. So number 1, guys, for me is we got in Gears 5, we got a semi-open world setting. For me in Gears 6, I'd like a full open world, a completely open world where we are able to completely dive in to this world in a major way, that being like able to explore the Gears world. And look, at first I was very skeptical in Gears 5, even having a semi-open world. I kind of was a little bit concerned about it, just because in the past we've had all these Gears of War titles that were, linear experiences, and we loved those, right? But changing it up and having a semi-open world, I loved it so much that now I want to explore more. So a full open world, even if that were to mean that the game's delayed or takes more time, I'm down, because I would like to play a full open world and be able to explore as much as we want, especially after beating the campaign once or twice. You're able just to kind of roam around and go at your own pace. So that's number 1. Number 2, guys, is for me personally, I love Kate Diaz as a character. She's an incredible character. I like her arc that she's had, and I think she really fits into this franchise very well. However, for me, I would like to see the torch pass back to JD or Marcus Phoenix as far as being the playable characters. I think that having, Kate as maybe one of the options, it would be fine. In the main story, this is, guys, I think it's great playing as her, but I think that we didn't get enough time playing as JD. We had, of course, Gears 4, which we played as JD, and it kind of felt like Marcus was passing the torch onwards to JD, and then I thought JD was going to have we were going to be playing as JD moving forward, but then he passes that torch on to Kate Diaz, and then, of course, in Gears 5, they kind of made JD out to be somewhat of a douchebag, and so I didn't really like that they kind of moved his character development in that direction. So in my opinion, I'd like to play as JD again, or even Marcus, kind of one last hurrah. I think they should give us an option between playing Kate, JD, or Marcus in Gear 6. That would be kind of something I think is important, especially because, as this series continues, you don't know how many more games we've got. to play as, Marcus. Is he's going to die in one of these games? Or, JD, what's going to happen? Obviously, at the end of Gears 5, spoilers, guys. If you haven't played Gears 5, you definitely should at this point. But, is canon going to be Dell surviving, or is it going to be JD surviving? So I think there's a lot of question marks there, but I would love to at least be able to play Marcus or Kate Diaz, in my personal opinion. Number 3, guys, getting away from the story into, more of the co-op modes. I would like to see, I would love to see some added co-op modes, in my personal opinion, some new co-op modes, whether that be like the escape mode or, something completely new. I like new modes all the way around. So really, when we're talking multiplayer, we're talking about co-op. I like to see new modes, generally speaking. One of the modes I really want to see come back, though, guys, is Beast mode. I know that's more of like a multiplayer mode, obviously, kind of a role reversal of Horde mode, where you're playing as the Swarm, and I love that concept. I want to see that return in Gears 6, guys. Even if they made it somewhat, they change it up a little bit, I would be totally down if they were to kind of change up the way in which we play Beast mode. But I think bringing that back, that was such a beloved mode that I think adding that as a part of the Gear 6 arsenal, I think would be a great idea. And like I said, new co-op modes would be awesome as well. I love escape mode, guys. I think even adding on to something like that, or maybe continuing with a completely different mode, would be a great idea. And it seems like Gears and the Coalition does a really good job of adding some really interesting and intriguing game modes. So I definitely trust them with that. And then number 4, guys, this is bringing us into the esports realm of Gears of War. For me personally, one of the big things that I want to see in Gears 6 is a change up in the Gears esports scene, from the standpoint where it seems up to this, for a while now, it's felt like pretty much since Gears 4, we have had the esports scene has been primarily played on Escalation. And I love Escalation as a game mode. I think it's a great creative game mode. But I think for the sake of building the fan base and building the, the spectators that are watching Gears esports, just for the simplicity of it, I think having Execution as the esports, game mode is really important, because it's a lot easier to follow. Escalation, even though it's not extremely, complex, it's not as simple as just having one life. And if you think of other games, guys, out there in the esports realm, CSGO, even Call of Duty, some of these other games, CSGO has one game mode. It's basically search and destroy, which is essentially what Execution is. Execution, I love the style of it, because you get one life, and then of course you go by rounds, and you have the power weapons on the field, and it kind of feels like Halo. It feels like, like Slayer, or it feels like Call of Duty Search and Destroy. And I really like that concept. I think it would be really good for the spectators of Gears of War, and I think it would be really helpful, in my personal opinion, with continuing to grow out the Gears of War scene. And then, of course, guys, the fifth and final top thing, and obviously, guys, look, these are 5 things, right? There's a ton of things out there that we, of course, could go through. We could probably spit off like 50 different things that we would like to see different or continued in Gear 6. But the 5th one for me, guys, is having monetization changes in Gear 6. So look, Gears of War 4, okay, monetization in it was there, obviously. And I think, guys, when we think of monetization, we're thinking of like the different monetization tactics that companies put in, we as consumers don't like them typically, just because they a lot of times are deceptive to the consumer. They end up getting us to spend money. And a lot of times we don't get the things that we want. And then if there's pay to win, schemes out there and things of that nature, it just is a very bad thing. And so with monetization, though, guys, the changes I want to see more earnable items, in my opinion, more earnable stuff versus that of things that you can buy. I'm the kind of guy, guys, that I like to earn stuff. And then when you're in lobbies and such, whether it's your title, your emblem, whatever it might be, you have things that have shown what kind of work you're putting in. And obviously the re-up system, they didn't really have any re-up, logos or anything in Gears 5. That's something else that, I would love to see change. But I mainly want to see like as far as the monetization, it's going to be there. And I think we can all agree that there's going to be monetization most likely. A lot of developers out there, guys, have to do it in order for, their companies to survive and for the games to be able to continue moving forward. If you think about it, games, if they were to go up with inflation, they wouldn't be $60 anymore. They would be well above $60 to buy the game, but they haven't. And so there has to be other ways that these companies are making money. So from a business perspective, I get it. But at the same time, I don't like it where it's deceptive to the consumers. I don't like the idea, so much stuff is behind a paywall, so many different, pieces of, whatever, cosmetic items and different, characters and things of that nature. I like to earn stuff. And even if it's, even if you have to grind to get there, I think it's all worth it if you're able to do that. I don't like this idea where I can either grind to get something or I can just pay for it and pay a certain amount of money to get it, or somebody else can. It just eliminates the prestige of those characters that you're unlocking, or the skins, or whatever it is, guys. And Gears of War has always done such a good job with the different skins on your weapons and, all the different camos and all the, characters and such. They do such a good job with that. But when a lot of it's behind a paywall, that's a problem, right? And I never really got caught up in paying a ton of money for, microtransactions and such, and paying a bunch of money for, whatever it might be. Usually the things that I would buy would be like the DLC, right? The downloadable like maps and such that you could get. But I never really got into buying like different characters and things of that nature. So I want there to be a different system moving forward. Personally, I would love to see a system where there is obviously things that you can buy in store that would be like for your characters, but there's a very there's a huge difference between the things that you're buying and the things that you're earning. The things you're earning, there's real emphasis there that these are people who are coming back to the game over and over again. And the things that you're buying are more just like cosmetic items that are for your characters and such that, that are cool, but at the same time aren't going to necessarily give someone an advantage, or they're not going to look cooler than the things that I'm earning in game. And that goes all the way to, do the re-ups and to just everything, the grind, guys. It's so much better to like earn stuff than it is to just purchase something and then you have it. But at the end of the day, you already paid $60 for the game. I think that there needs to be a better monetization structure in Gears 6, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear your guys' top 5 things that you want to see in Gears 6. Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Gears 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. One of the big topics that I've been hearing a lot of people talking about is Mass Effect and the continuation of this franchise, and what direction the publishers, the developers are going to potentially go in moving forward with this franchise. And one of those being, would they make a Mass Effect Andromeda 2, or would they make Mass Effect 4? And so what I want to talk about is, where is Mass Effect Andromeda 2? Because this is a game that, in my opinion, I would actually like to see it. I know a lot of other people out there, I say it's not really generally the popular opinion, because a lot of people like, of course, the original Mass Effect trilogy, which I did as well. But I thought that Mass Effect Andromeda, underneath everything, had something special to it, even though it wasn't, of course, as widely accepted as the other 3 games. And I think just because it was different, that was part of the reason why people didn't like it. It was also, something I liked about it was that it was on another planet. It was like kind of, in another, essentially like another galaxy. And so it was like this new story, but it kind of felt familiar in certain ways. And so I thought it was fun. I don't think it was great, but I thought it was pretty good. Better than what other people were saying, in my opinion. And so there's others that enjoyed Andromeda quite a bit and thought that there could be something moving forward here, and so let's kind of talk about that here, guys. I definitely want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you guys want to see an Andromeda 2, or would you just want to see a Mass Effect 4? I think, guys, the popular thing would be to say that a Mass Effect 4 would make more sense. And I would say, guys, in my personal BioWare would be smart to go back to the roots, because look, Andromeda, regardless of whether I liked it and the next person liked it, at the end of the day, it didn't do as well as the original Mass Effect games. And so what that tells me is that Mass Effect Andromeda 2 is probably a ways off if it's ever going to come out. I think that there was talk that, look, after Andromeda, they're going to make a new trilogy here. And that was kind of the rumor, was that the trilogy was going to be based around Andromeda. But I think that now when they saw the backlash of Andromeda, I think that they would be smart to go back to the roots of this. Now, maybe not Shepard, maybe not, exactly, a continuation from Mass Effect 4, but potentially somewhat of a soft reboot would maybe make sense. That being, just a Mass Effect title or whatever it might be, guys, that comes out on the next generation of consoles. I think Mass Effect would do really well to take advantage of the Xbox Series X and the PS5, those next generation consoles, the graphics, and the story that they could really tell. Andromeda 2, in my opinion, could really, I think that BioWare kind of knows what they did right, wrong, and what they could do different moving forward with Andromeda. And so I think Andromeda 2 would actually be pretty good, but I just don't know if people would even give it a chance. And so I think that really this gets back to BioWare, most likely they would just be smarter to go ahead and make a Mass Effect 4. Kind of go back to like the core of what this franchise was all about, and not, kind of bring it back, and maybe, you have new characters and such that you're being introduced to, but it's a little bit more grounded in what people know from the original trilogy. But Andromeda 2, guys, where is it at this point? Here's what I think. I think it's probably in a hiatus point. It may even be in a limbo state at this point. It's really hard to say. Obviously, BioWare wanted to go ahead and make a new trilogy out of Andromeda, but I think now that they saw the backlash, it's like, okay, if they're coming back to Mass Effect, they really gotta, kind of really rethink doing Andromeda. Maybe Andromeda they can come back to eventually. People maybe give it another chance at some point or another. But I just don't think you want to have a back-to-back, take a chance, that is, on one of your most popular franchises. Take a chance on having Andromeda, which didn't do well, and then Andromeda 2, hoping that does better than the first one. It just doesn't make sense from really a business perspective, and so I think Mass Effect 4 is most likely what we're going to be getting, or a Mass Effect, soft reboot. That would be kind of where I think the direction that they may very well be going. So at this point, Andromeda, I think, guys, that we're probably years away from seeing anything on the next Mass Effect, that being like Mass Effect 4. And I would personally say that if we see Mass Effect 4, let's just say in the next few years, probably a couple of years after that, when they would get the ball rolling here, and as long as they're building that reputation back up, I think that Mass Effect Andromeda 2 would potentially be able to come out at a couple of years after that, maybe in a, more in a minor way, whether that be as part of an expansion, or they just have a smaller developer work on it. Whatever the case might be, I think there is something special with Andromeda. It just didn't land well with everyone. And unfortunately, those are just the facts. And I'm hoping that they do make Andromeda 2 at some point, but I don't think it would be a very good business decision right now. I think the best move forward is to go with Mass Effect 4, or just go with a Mass Effect soft reboot. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, guys. Would you want to see a Mass Effect Andromeda 2, or would you want to see a Mass Effect 4? Would you want to see both? Which Mass Effect game is your favorite at this point? Let me know what you guys think. And for more Mass Effect Andromeda 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Jurassic World is one of those franchises that I absolutely love, guys. And of course, being a part of the Jurassic Park franchise, this is one that is starting to feel a little bit kind of like Fast and Furious, or it's kind of feeling like some of these other franchises that are coming out with movies relatively often at this point, and are kind of trying to create, like really extended universes, so to speak. Like, it also reminds me kind of like Star Wars, right? Star Wars started off, and, obviously when it got bought out by Lucasfilm, being bought out by Disney, they're creating this entire universe around Star Wars. Fast and Furious started out as this, kind of just a fun, street racing type of game, of movie. And then all of a sudden it becomes this massive franchise that's probably going to have up to 10 movies. And so Jurassic World reminds me of that in the standpoint that they're doing this new trilogy, which Jurassic World, coming up with Jurassic World Dominion to kind of round out that trilogy, and then they're most likely going to greenlight another trilogy similar to what like Star Wars is doing and what like Fast and Furious is doing, which is absolutely awesome because guess what, guys? I absolutely love dinosaurs. I love just like the history of it, the idea of like what this movie represents is really awesome in my opinion. I can't wait for this movie. It's coming out apparently June 11th of 2021. This leads us to the where is, Jurassic World Dominion, because at this point, guys, it's slated for June 11th of 2021, but like so many other movies out there that we've even talked about here on the YouTube channel, lots of movies are getting pushed back because of the pandemic going on, and if there, God forbid, ends up being another, resurgence of this pandemic later in the fall, I honestly think Jurassic World Dominion might get even pushed back even further from the June 11th, 2021 release date, which would be really unfortunate because this is going to be, a summer blockbuster, which is what you want Jurassic World, you want this series to be. You want it to be a summer blockbuster, kind of like a Christopher Nolan film that releases in the summertime. You got these big summer blockbusters. This is one of them. And so I'm hoping that they are able to stick to the June 11th, 2021 release date. And it's sounding to me, guys, like, look, there's been a lot of talk that Jurassic World 4 is probably going to happen, meaning that Dominion, that would be the upcoming one, is not going to be the end of the franchise. Like, they are going to continue this thing. I think it really comes down to the numbers, though. I think it comes down to if Jurassic World Dominion makes a lot of money, they'll continue making these movies. And I think they will make a lot of money off of Dominion. Colin Trevorrow, of course, the director of Jurassic World, he didn't do Fallen Kingdom, but he's coming back for Jurassic World Dominion. Great director. I think he's going to knock this thing out of the park. He's going to kind of round out this trilogy, this new trilogy of Jurassic World, and set us into another new era of Jurassic World or Jurassic Park, whatever it might be. That's what's exciting about this, guys. Even though the where is still unknown as far as is this date, the release date, going to, gonna stick to July or June 11th of 2021, or is it gonna move, at some other point? We know the production started on Jurassic World Dominion. Obviously, they're going to have to pick up, when things kind of go back to some form of normalcy as far as with filming and things of that nature. But this is going to be an epic movie. I think it's going to be really epic. I mean, all of them have been epic to this point. I mean, even going back to Jurassic Park, they're just fun blockbuster movies, guys. And that's why I'm really hoping that they're able to stick to that, summer date, because it feels like Jurassic World is just a summer blockbuster at this point. And so I'm hoping, there's a lot of hope here that this is going to be a great, rounding out of the trilogy, and it's going to set us into the next era of Jurassic World, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. Let me know, though, guys, what are you most excited about with Jurassic World Dominion? Are you guys, excited to see the end of this trilogy and the emergence of maybe a new era of Jurassic World? Or what is it that you guys are the most excited to see in this third Jurassic World film? Let me know in the comments section below. And for more Jurassic World content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.